Call the meeting in order of the Wilmington City Council. I'd like to welcome all those who are with us here this evening and all those who are watching us at home. Thank you for taking an interest in your government. This time, I'd like to introduce Joe Michael James of the Wilmington Fire Department for our invocation. If everyone will stand, remaining standing for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Is Joe Michael here? Okay. Mr. Rivenbark?
Bow your heads, please. Dear Lord, thank you for this wonderful opportunity to gather here with all the citizens we see out in the audience that come to let us know they're watching us. Just grant us the wisdom, God, just to get through this meeting and to always know in our heart that we're doing the right thing as it comes to running our great city of Wilmington. We're glad that the astronauts have landed. Thank you for guiding them home safely. And Lord, we just ask this in the name of Jesus, our Savior. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have several presentations this evening. Our first presentation is a proclamation naming March 21st, 2025 as Arbor Day. And our forestry management supervisor, Mr. Aaron Reese, was going to receive this award, but he is under the weather, so I'm going to ask Ms. Amy Beatty, who's the director of our Parks and Recreation Department, to please come forward to receive this. City of Wilmington, North Carolina proclamation reads, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas the Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Bill Saffo, on behalf of the entire City Council, I do hereby declare March 21st, 2025 as Arbor Day in the city of Wilmington, North Carolina, and I want to turn this over to Amy Beatty, who runs our department for the trees and everything that you do to maintain them. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for all of your support for the department, for personnel that maintain and preserve our trees, equipment, new tree planting budget lines over the years. And even more importantly, I think we have a lot of supporters in the audience tonight, coincidentally. I believe we have members of the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees here. They're a wonderful partner. They go out and get grants for new tree planting, tree giveaways, training programs that help us to get out and take care of trees when we're doing other things. And we also have the Cape Fear Garden Club members here today as well. They just recently had a tree planting in Greenfield Park to commemorate the 100th anniversary. So if y'all folks who are here that I mentioned want to stand, we also have Evan, one of our tree trimmers, standing in the back. Evan, raise your hand. And the Alliance and Cape Fear Garden Club members, if you would stand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amy. Thank you. This time I'd like to recognize Ms. Cathy Poulos of the Cape Fear Garden Club, who's going to be presenting a presentation of the Beauty Spot Outstanding Landscaping Awards. Cathy, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor Saffo and council members, for having us here tonight. We're just very grateful to have a chance to talk about this program. I would like to thank, I'm Cathy Poulos. with the Cape Fear Garden Club, I would like to recognize Payne Robinson, who put together this PowerPoint presentation. She's also a member, and our president's here, Dolores Halls, sitting here on the first row, so thank you. So we're talking about the Beauty Spot Awards, but first I want to give you an introduction of how that came about. The Civic Improvements Committee, of which I'm chair, has been a long-standing history of doing beautification throughout our city and county. Our focus on beautification has been mostly in parks and medians and byways and city entrances, and I have to give kudos to Amy Beatty and the parks staff, for they are have been instrumental, and we partner with them in many, many projects. All right, just a quick few examples. This is a city median right beside St. James Episcopal Church that was redesigned and beautifully planted. It just brings so much interest, and as you drive by, which is what we're all about. This is the urban garden, we're calling it. It's a part of Riverfront Park down in downtown Wilmington, and our committee has been actively and are still actively planting in this garden, and we plan to have a dedication ceremony in May. Would love for y'all to be there on May 7th. Now, what we're here to talk about is the Beauty Spot Awards. This program began in 2011, and as we did all these beautification projects, we realized that we need to go beyond just beautifying public spaces. If we could get the private sectors involved, if we could get business properties and residential properties and neighborhood entrances really engaged and realizing that if they can landscape to the curb so that everybody passing by or driving by can enjoy it, it will enhance our whole coastal area. So that was our concept of how to begin this. The purpose was to bring awareness and recognition to property managers, owners, and landscapers, and to inspire others to create landscapes with curb appeal. This is the sign that we developed. It's a permanent looking sign. It's sandblasted and beautifully designed and colored. It actually can be, like a real estate sign, can be implanted into the ground and then moved to the next location. And this is what we use as our award, one of our awards. Here's just a list of previous business winners through the years, since the inception of the program starting in 2011. You can see that we began awarding this twice a year in the spring and the fall, but we, by 2015, decided to focus on an annual award, and we decided to tie that in with National Garden Club Week, which is always the first week in June, so that's when we actually give out the award and perform our ceremony. You can see it's a variety of businesses. It's restaurants, it's retail stores, shopping centers, even storage units. We've had a lot of people that we've awarded this to. Now some quick examples. This is Atlantic Marine. You can see a landscaping all along the curb, beautiful. This was Crossroads Shopping Center off of Carr Avenue. You can see how our sign is sitting in the landscape. Looks very natural and beautiful. We like it. The Paws and Claws Animal Hospital, again, curbside landscaping appeal. This was the courtyard at Masonboro, off of Masonboro Loop Road. And this one was interesting because it wasn't so much about color, but it was about the tree canopy. And you see this beautiful fountain that they have right there visible for all who pass by to see it. So that was what captivated us about this property. Wendy's House, a beautiful little spot off of Oleander with the little pink house, but they brought that color out to the road. And as always, with our ceremonies, you see a group of us giving them kudos for that. One of our last awards, or year before last, was Kipos. And they just did a fabulous job in Luminous Station with landscaping up to the parking lot, and you can actually dine in this beautiful landscaping outdoors. So those are some things that we look for. To give you the feel for the 3 different categories that I mentioned, our 2024 beauty spot winners were Bradley Creek Station. When you can see, we invite the tenants, everybody in the building, come out, celebrate with us while we put this sign up. Our neighborhood entrance award winner was Tidal Walk, and that's off of Old Myrtle Grove Road, I believe. Again, gorgeous landscaping right there at their entrance. And then our residential winner was on Hunter Mills Lane, and these owners do not use a landscaper. They take great pride in landscaping their property, but they did it all the way out in front, where not just for themselves in the backyard, everybody can see it. Just a few quick views of some of the residential. You see, it's not the size of the property, smaller homes, larger homes. This one's off Summer West Road, more expansive landscapes, but again, the curb street appeal. A few more neighborhood entrances. This is Hanover Lakes. I think it's a Bill Clark Homes neighborhood. There's River Lights, which when they came in, they landscaped their medians, they did their entrance, the signage right there, but they also have park space in there built into that community, which is so nice and inviting and has lots of native plants and trees, which we love. This is Trinity Landing off of Masonboro Loop Road. Again, all the residents were so excited, and they did beautiful street side, but they carry the natural landscaping all the way throughout this property to the water. Now upcoming, it's 2025, so how do we do this? This has been internal to this point within our club, but we accept nominations April 15th to May 15th, and then our Civic Improvements Committee reviews each nomination. We do on-site review, and then we meet and vote on the winners. We contact the winners the last 2 weeks in May and distribute these awards the first week of June. And basically, we get a group and we just go from property to property, and each winner gets a framed certificate and the beautiful sign implanted in their property for the year. So we understand that council may be interested in incentives for business property owners in particular, and we welcome any collaboration or questions or input that you might have. That's it.
We do. Cathy, first I just want to say thank you to the Cape Fear Garden Club. I think you're the second oldest garden club in the entire country, and your folks do an outstanding work. But what I really want to say to the people out there and to the people that are listening tonight is your club in particular has taken it upon themselves not to ask government to continue to do things, but to get out there on your own and to find the things that you want to beautify and enhance them and work with property owners, work with government, work with nonprofits to make it happen. And I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for your outstanding contribution to this community, not only now, but for many years. So thank you so much for everything you folks have done. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate that, and we really appreciate your parks staff, and be good to them because we love them.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Cathy. Thank you very much. Before I recognize Mr. Bourk from the Airport Authority, I would like to recognize Councilmember.
Thank you. About 2 months ago, I had opportunity to have lunch with Jeff Bourk and Sproul Thompson. Jeff Bourk, as you know, is the executive director of the airport, and Sproul Thompson's on his board. And we didn't meet about the airport. We met about something totally different. But in the course of dinner, he is so excited about what's going on out there. He told me all about it, and it sounded so good that I wanted him to come down and make a presentation. Although our airport is just right, a couple of miles from here, you don't really go to the airport every day unless you're going somewhere, so you might miss some of this stuff, but it's really spectacular what they've done, what's going on now, and what's coming in the future. So with that said, Jeff, if you'd come up and let everybody else see it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you all for having me here to give a little bit of an airport update. I love talking about the airport. I'm excited about everything that's going on out there. And of course, none of it would be happening without so many of the great things going on within this city. So that's why we wanted to come down here and share it with you. So first thing I'm going to do is talk a little bit of recap of what's happened in the last year. And you also have on your desk there a vision plan update. We do that every year, and that's our 5-year plan looking ahead. So we've got a lot of projects going on right now that are in the works. You'll see them in the video that I'm going to share with you at the end, but we have a terminal, we got the road and curb project, we got a terminal expansion that's going on, a runway rehab project taking place, some utility upgrades, so there's a lot happening. This past year, we got $53 million in federal grants, and I want to just highlight that all of that money is from the state aviation system or the federal aviation system. And if we didn't get that money to come here to Wilmington, it would have gone to some other airport in the federal system or the state system. And that's just this year. These are all of our active leases out there. We have we're running out of land. That's for sure. We've leased out a lot of the space. You can see all of the active, we've got the cold storage warehouse coming, we got a 150-room hotel that's being built, that really the justification for that hotel is really in part to support the airport, but also the convention business downtown for people that fly in to attend those conventions, and a lot of other projects here that you can look at in more detail later. But the most important thing about this is I get asked all the time, why does the airport need a business park? Well, the main reason is, one, it diversifies our revenues, but it also generates revenue on its own, which allows us not to charge the amount of money that we make from that, we don't have to charge the airlines. It allows us to keep their rates and charges to the airlines low, which allows us to build air service and grow, which benefits everybody. That's been a big part of our plan. So when I got here back in a little over 3 years ago, we had 8 nonstop flights. Mostly on all legacy service to 8 places. Now we have nonstop service to 28 markets, and you can see them here. We go, and this isn't even updated because we just added 4 new ones a few days ago. So we have great service now. We're packed with nonstops, and from those nonstops you can get to over 500 places with one-stop connection globally. We've seen a 40% increase in service in just the last few years. Most of this growth has occurred in the last 2. So you think of any business that you're involved with or you've been a part of, and think about it growing 40% and what strains that might cause on your business, whether it be physical in terms of space or just payroll, staffing, all those types of things. So we're experiencing all of that, and we're dealing with it by making sure we were behind to begin with, quite frankly. So now we're expanding the facilities, growing the facilities and staff so that we can keep up with the growth and continue to provide this service for our community. This shows the growth really well. The green line is 2019. That's what we had for service. And if you look now at the purple line was last year, the red line was 24, and the dot, and 25 is gonna be our biggest year yet. So one thing to note in this is you can really see how the summer seasonal traffic is really expanding. That's tourism traffic or convention traffic coming in. 5 years ago, the airport was 80% outbound business. Today, we're 65% leisure travel out of Wilmington, and you can see how that's benefiting the tourism and the convention business in our community. This is looking ahead. So this shows the seats in the market over each of the previous years. And so you can see why I'm projecting that 25 is going to be a bigger year than any other year, and we're seeing that already. So I'm not going to bore you with forecasts. We can go through all these numbers, but we don't expect it to slow down anytime soon. So parking. You know, airports have various constraints, various choke points, just like cities, and you look at those things, certain roadways or highways or access. Airports are the same thing. We've got a curb front. We got outbound baggage, inbound baggage, gates for the airplanes, parking spaces. So we look at all those things to see where our constraints are with each flight that we add. Parking's a big one, and we don't have enough parking. So we're adding parking. Curb, we don't have enough curb. We're adding that. And you'll see all of that in the video. If you've heard people complain or talk about parking at Wilmington, this is why. We've had to rebuild the parking. We keep adding flights. We have 1,900 spaces at Wilmington right now. We need 2,500. So we have a remote lot with 1,000 spaces to make up that demand, and that's a temporary measure while we build what you'll see on this picture and in the video. And we're moving as fast as we can with all of the construction. I think we're rapidly moving. We've got a lot of things happening. We've got 2 contractors on site right now. They have liquidated damages if they don't deliver on time and on schedule and on budget. So we're pushing those projects as fast as we can so that we don't become a constraint to our own growth. We've added ticket counter space. If we didn't add this, like now if you go out there, you'll see a whole new set of ticket counters across from the new ones. That's to accommodate JetBlue. They just announced service to Boston. Our gates. These are our gates at Wilmington. So you might go out there certain times of the day and say, hey, these gates aren't all full. Well, if you go out there at 5 a.m., this is what it will look like in July. Every one of our gates are utilized, and we have 2 aircraft parked in the hard stand positions that later have to get towed onto the gates. This is a strong indicator that we're reaching our max of this terminal. This terminal was built, just opened a few years ago, and it was built to handle a little over 1 million passengers. At the end of this year, we're going to hit 1.7 million. So so we have a terminal design that's going to expand this terminal, and that's already started, and construction will start in July of 27. And this is what it will look like. We're adding 3 more gates, and this is what the ultimate build-out will look like. And you'll see some of that in the video. Active construction projects taking place on campus right now. We have $400 million of active construction projects taking place on campus. 154 million of that is the authority, and you can see the other ones. 84 Lumber's got a project. Frontier Scientific is the cold storage warehouse that you saw announced a little while ago, the hotel, and so on. A lot of it is private hangars or corporate hangars, an velo maintenance facility. So it's a huge for our little piece of the world. These are what some of those projects look like. The cold storage warehouse is up. It's 12 acres under roof, and the walls are up and going up. That's it there. You can see a rendering of it. This is the hotel. It's going to be a Crowne Plaza hotel, 150 rooms, rooftop bar, and some meeting space as well. And I do think a main purpose of that hotel will be to serve as a hotel to help support the convention market downtown. There on the left is a corporate hangar going in, private hangar for a private jet. And then this is some of the pictures of the terminal construction. When you come into the terminal, it looks completely different. It doesn't look like what it used to look like. And you'll continue to see that to happen. This is they're putting down the new sidewalks. You can see one of the things is we have bird prints in the concrete that serve as a path to help guide people to where they need to go.
I was wondering what that was.
So our 5-year capital plan is this, and we don't have time tonight to go through it all, but there are some key projects I want to point out on this plan. One is Hall Drive, which is the airport. Can you see where the circle is on the top left? That's Hall Drive in blue clay. That's going to get extended through to Castle Hayne, so that you can go straight through to Castle Hayne and then go up to 140 or down to MLK. That project is in design now, and then we are working with NCDOT, and we're extending 23rd Street from MLK to Airport Boulevard to be 2 lanes, 2 dedicated lanes with a turn lane, and that project is in design now by NCDOT, and the airport committed $1 million to that project to help move it forward. This is the schedule. There's a lot of projects. I think the main point here is these are all the projects that we have. We lay them out over the 5-year period. We show how much money is dedicated to that, and we track the projects literally with this calendar, completed, committed. There's a much more detailed spreadsheet, but this is basically it. And then we look at the 27 to 31 year plan, which has all those projects. Some of them have been moved forward, but this is that plan. So we have 200 million of we have 200 million of projects planned between now and 2031, and all of those projects are funded with no borrowing of money, and all grant money or airport revenues supporting that development schedule. So this is the video, really the best part of, instead of listening to me, just watch the video and you'll see all of the things that we plan to get done in the next few years. And I'll say everything, and I'm going to walk you through it a little bit. You're on 23rd Street turning onto Airport Boulevard. And as you come down here, one of the major changes that you'll see, this looks very familiar, but you're going to see all overhead roadway signs. It's much better for wayfinding, and that's a major change. You'll see as you come down Airport Boulevard here on the right, you'll see the hotel. And as you continue through, one of the big things that we're missing at the airport now is a cell phone lot. where you can go and wait for your people to arrive and call you. That's it right there on the right. And then all the parking lots will be entered to the left. First one is economy. Your next one will be long-term parking and the parking garage. And the signage all directs you from overhead. The biggest problem with our airport now, and the main reason for this project, is as you come up, if you remember, you come out there, there's this little circular curb front. It was designed in 1989, and it was designed to handle 200,000 passengers. It's not adequate for now. The front of the curb bogs down multiple times throughout the day. So now you get a long approach, multiple lanes, and then farthest to the left you have a commercial curb where Ubers, Lyfts, rideshares, shuttles, buses will pick you up, drop you off. So we'll have 6 lanes out there over a much longer stretch than we do today. The canopy will also be lit, be able to be changed colors. So when the Seahawks win the national championship, we can turn it to teal or whatever the case may be. July 4th, we can make it red, white, and blue and other things. So that is going to be something that we'll have a schedule for and match it up with the events of the community, such as the Azalea Festival. Running inside of the parking lot will be a shuttle loop. This will run interior to the parking lot, and it will bring people, because the parking lot's going to be much bigger than it used to be. And this will bring people up to the front, to the arrivals and drop-off curve. That's not the exact shuttle we're going to use. You can see the landscaping is dramatically different. There's the native trees, like the oaks and the elms, and but there's also palm trees. We feel we're a destination airport as well. We want people to come off the airplanes and feel like they've arrived at their destination. So you'll see a lot more of that in the final landscape architecture. So then when you come into the shuttle, there'll be this new drop-off area right here, and we'll show you that in a second. And that will bring you directly into the terminal. So now you're out at the end of long-term parking, you're walking in or maybe hopping on that shuttle there, and this will give you a little bit more view of how the landscape has really changed. It also shows you the vast difference in the size of what that is, and that's why when you saw that first parking lot go way out there in the back, and everybody was like, why the heck are they putting a parking lot way out here? Well, that's the back of this parking lot that's been in the plans. So now you come in, a major change here that you'll see is you'll come in underneath the road above, the 6 lanes above. So you step in here through that door, and then this is the tunnel that goes underneath the roads that take you, so you don't have to cross the 6 lanes above. It's also got the ocean theme. You're in the barrel of the wave. You can see the water and the sand meeting up. Then you come up into what is familiar to everybody. There's the clock. That doesn't move. It will stay right there. The atrium's bigger. Come through TSA. We've added a 4th lane. I wish it was that easy. TSA doesn't work that simple, but we've added one here, which I'm sure we'll be adding one in the near future. And then this looks what it looks like today. You'll see the terminal. You see what it looks like already. This is what it is now. It's funny, about a year ago, we announced this terminal expansion, this whole project, and we also at the same time announced that we were adding a Dunkin' and Jimmy John's. That got more news coverage than the $185 million capital program, but people love Dunkin' and Jimmy John's and our new Flying Machine Brewery out there in the terminal. So this is where you can see the expansion of the gates. So you come down here, right now the terminal ends right here, and we're just really bumping this out and adding 3 or 4 more gates, which will increase our capacity to what we need. As you come around now, okay, so this just shows, right now we've got 7 airlines at Wilmington. These are all of them, and the gate capacity is near max. We still have some room to grow, but that's why we're going to get that terminal expansion done very quickly. So now you're at baggage claim. You picked up your bag and you're going out. So the first thing you'll notice is you'll come across, you've got 4 lanes of arrival, drop-off curve, much longer approach. It's not curved. Now you're down in rental car. You came down, you went through there, and you're in. Rental cars are paying for half of this parking garage because they need a new retail space. 5 years ago, we didn't really need rental car space because we didn't have visitors coming. We have a lot more visitors now, and that they want a retail space in the garage. That's really the main reason for the garage. This is how you'll return your rental car. You'll come down the ramp, and from above and park in the rental car space. Oops, okay. So that's the video. That shows the expansion. Everything you see in that video is going to be done by fall of '26. So this is not a futuristic project. It's not something that you might see happening. It's being built right now. A few other key projects are the Runway 624 project. This is an overlay project to make sure, oops, I'm hitting the wrong button. So let me just come back. Okay, so this is the roadway project that we talked about before. 23rd Street, this is the Castle Hayne extension, the Hall Drive extending to Castle Hayne. And this is our budget. The last thing I want to point out right here is all of that money being spent to upgrade the facilities. ILM is still going to be very strong. Right now we have $100 million in reserves. At the low, in 27 as the big peak of this, we'll still have 25 million, which for us is 2 years cash on hand. We could stop making a penny, keep operating at the same level and not change one thing and run for 2 years without having to worry about cash flow. And skip this. And then the last thing, from a revenue standpoint, when you look at our operating revenues and our operating expenses, and if you looked at it like a business, we would be making a 35% profit margin. So very strong, healthy finances at the airport, and we pass that savings. What happens with that profit margin is we turn around and put it into capital improvements. And at the same time, we lower our cost to our airlines that utilize the airport, so they are profitable and want to keep growing. And really, that is our business plan. I do want to touch on this last thing, is the noise. There's a noise study, and you have some residents in Wilmington, historic Wilmington and other places that are impacted by the noise, primarily the military aircraft noise. And so we've commissioned a study. We got $1 million from the FAA to run this study, and it's in progress. And what that study is going to do is all of this stuff here, but it's ultimately going to tell us per federal guidelines what the noise impacts are and then what mitigating measures are potentially available to residents that are impacted. So at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen, and we'll have that, and we'll do whatever there'll be funding available to implement any measures if they are determined to be necessary. And this is the schedule. This will be kicking back off in the next couple of months. And then last, the economic impact from all of this. This is not our study. This is NCDOT's study, and it shows that the airport had a $3.3 billion economic impact on our area, our region, and that is also up 30 or 40% over the last study from a few years ago, which goes along with the growth that we've seen, and we support about a little over 20,000 jobs. So that they threw one more slide in on me. We are hoping to do an air show. We have a foundation called ILM Aerospace Foundation. It supports aviation education for kids in our area, and it teaches them about career opportunities in flying. It teaches them to fly or be aircraft maintenance mechanics. And so we've been working to get this going down over Carolina Beach. It would be over the beach, not out at the airport. And all the proceeds that come from this event would go to support that foundation. So we'll keep you posted on that if we can get this moving forward. That's it.
Jeff, I was noticing the video going down the lanes and the beautiful landscape, and I could see a beauty spot sign going up there.
Absolutely, yeah, we need that.
I hope they noticed. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing that to us. I know everybody enjoyed it as much as I did.
Well, thank you for having us, and we'd love to come back next year as we keep updating this plan.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much. Our next item of business is our consent agenda, items 1 through 6. Are there any items that any council member would like to hear separately? If not, what are the wishes of council in respect to the consent agenda? We have a motion approved by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Spears. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? The item passes unanimously. Before we get to our public information, I do also want to recognize that our Mayor Pro Tem is not with us. Clifford Barnett is out of town and will be with us at our next city council meeting. So our public information, segments here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 speakers that have signed up to speak tonight. Each speaker will be allotted 5 minutes. The clerk will keep the time. When you hear the buzzer go off, it means your time is up. And so our first speaker is Mr. Dennis McGarry, who will be speaking to us about the Cape Fear Bridge replacement. Is Mr. McGarry here? Mr. McGarry? Okay. Next speaker is Ms. Sylvia Cochler, who will be speaking to us about the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge replacement clearance. Ms. Cochler here? Sylvia here? Okay. Third speaker is Mr. Javoke Terrell, who will be speaking to us about the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge. Is Javoke here? Okay. Next speaker is Mr. Jonathan Berger, Creating Friendships for Peace Exchange Program. Is Mr. Berger here? There he is.
Thanks very much for the opportunity to come and talk to you all about this wonderful exchange program that I am a proud member of. I'm on the board of this organization called Creating Friendships for Peace. Just to give a little bit of background, this was created in the 1980s by a family in Pennsylvania who were concerned about the troubles in Northern Ireland. They wanted to do something about it, and they took matters into their own hands, and they started an exchange program bringing teenagers from Northern Ireland, a Catholic and a Protestant, pairing them up together and bringing them to the United States for a homestay of 1 month during the summer, where they could learn about each other, where they could talk about their hopes and their dreams, their similarities, their commonalities, and also learn about the United States a little bit more deeply than they would have back home. That program was started, as I said, in the mid-'80s and continued for about 20 years until after the Good Friday Agreement was in place for a number of years. And over 2,000 Northern Ireland teenagers came to the United States, to many cities across this country, and, like I said, learned about each other outside of their conflict and learned about the United States and are now leaders in their community. When that program was closed up and moved over to Cyprus, the program was invited into Cyprus to work with the same kind of model, and now it brings, for the last 15 years, has been bringing teenagers from the north of Cyprus, which is Turkish-speaking, and the southern part of Cyprus, which is Greek-speaking. Again, same model, bringing these two teens together, same gender paired together to a homestay in the United States, several cities across the country for the month of July, where again they learn about each other, they learn about their cultures, they eat each other's foods, and they learn about what American families do as well. In 2020, the program expanded into Israel and is now bringing Israeli Jews and Israeli Arabs together as well, and has done for the last couple of years. When the war started in October, we decided to not pause the program, but to continue it, and it's a little bit changed, and we bring those kids now to a camp in New Hampshire. It's a conflict resolution camp. It's about a week where they can learn, again, about, and do some workshops and learn a little bit more about each other's cultures. We hope by next summer, after the conflict has ended, God willing, to bring them back into homestays and into other cities. What I'm proud to announce today is that we have been able to find a couple of host families for Wilmington. So Wilmington will be a new host city for this program. And I'm really proud about that because I think Wilmington is a great city. It's a welcoming city. It's a warm city. And it's got people from all over the country and all over the world. And this is an opportunity for everybody here in the city to learn a little bit more about Cyprus, and for these Cypriot teenagers to learn a little bit more about the United States as well. So we're going to start this program here in July, like I said, for 3 weeks. We've got a couple of families. We've got some people that have signed up as well to be what we call day hosts. So the families who are hosting throughout can get a break, and those day hosts can be those adult chaperones during the day. It's a mix. The program is a mix of structured program where we're going to be doing some conflict resolution workshops with them and some other kinds of trips and things like that. But there's also unstructured so that they can do things with their family. If the family says, let's go to the mountains to our cabin for a couple of days, that's great. Let's go to the beach for a day. That's fine too. Everything flows really well within that program. So I'm really happy to be able to be a part of this. Like I said, I'm on the board, and I wanted to be able to bring some visibility and awareness to the city through my appearance here. But since I have a little bit of time left, I'd also like to speak about one more thing that's on the agenda for today, and that is about the Flossie Bryan property. Now, obviously, I didn't know Flossie Bryan, but she sounds like a remarkable woman, and I know that it sounds like she really cared deeply for her family, her community, and her city. And I know every single person here feels the same way about those things. That's why I think the council must support this resolution to follow Flossie's will and intent to preserve her land as a green space for generations to come. You know, we talk a lot about, in this city, about our tree covering. It's being cut down, we're losing green space, and we're feeling hemmed in by development. But we know the city's population will continue to increase, and we can't stop it. We know the secret's been out for a long time already. But we also know that as we grow, we need to continue to be mindful of what we can lose in the process. We all know how lucky we are to live in this city and with everything that it has to offer, but one of the things that we can really be proud of is the network of over 40 parks and trails and green spaces the city has developed over these years for all of its residents. This is a great thing, and we obviously have a tradition here about ensuring that we maintain and care for these places, which benefits us all. So it seems to me that it's a no-brainer to continue this practice of the city and preserve another amazing green space, which will allow continuing generations of citizens and visitors to learn, to play, and to receive multiple health benefits. We know we have to continue to develop new places to live and to learn and to shop and to eat and be entertained in order to keep pace with the influx of newcomers. And how we do that, it's a discussion for another day. But today, I think we need to fulfill the dream of one caring and visionary resident who knew that this city can only continue to thrive if it takes care of one another. So please, I urge you to pass this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker. Next speaker is Mr. Jordan Pettit. Is Jordan here? Jordan Pettit would be speaking to us about firefighter budget cut. Is Jordan here? Okay. Okay. Now, last speaker is Ms. Trish Rowe, who will be speaking to us about 3990 Independence Boulevard.
This is a statement in support of the resolution of the Wilmington City Council supporting the public preservation of the Flossie Bryan property located at 3990 Independence Boulevard. Our group refers to this property as Legacy Nature Education Park. I am here on behalf of the supporters of the Legacy Park Committee of Del Webb at Riverlights, and River's Edge, many of whom are sitting in the audience tonight. I was originally scheduled to present my group's resolution to the City Council on March 3rd. However, I was bumped from the schedule, and therefore you were saved from my 5-minute presentation. In the interim, we learned that Councilmember Celeste Andrews had prepared a resolution to preserve the property located at 3990 Independence Boulevard for the public, which is later on today's agenda. I'm here this evening to voice our strong support for this resolution that protects this land as a public park, ensuring it remains a buffer against flooding, provides environmental sustainability, a space for residents to connect with nature, and a sanctuary for wildlife. Together, we can save this land for generations to come by prioritizing conservation, education, and low-impact recreation. By doing so, you ensure our safety and our quality of life. We do not stand alone. We also have the support of the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees, Keep Trees, Save Midtown, Protect Porter's Neck, Cape Fear Connection, Cape Fear River Watch, the Sierra Club, and several other community, education, and environmental organizations. We have provided a copy of our petition that currently contains 1,157 signatures. These signatures represent a fraction of the support for preservation of the 60 acres of much-needed green space. Dr. Roger Shue is presenting the Legacy Nature Education Park vision to the county commissioners at their March 24 meeting. We urge the city to work with the county commissioners who own the majority of this property to bring this opportunity into a reality for the residents and future residents of this community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes our public information segment.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Andrews?
I wanted to recognize that Commissioner Rob Zappel has joined us tonight.
Hello, Rob. I guess you heard it. They'll be coming to you next. Thank you. Okay. Our next item is our public hearings. Item PH1 is an ordinance directing the housing inspector to vacate, close, and repair the dwelling at 709 South 7th Street as unfit for human habitation pursuant to Article 5, Chapter 16 of the City Code, and directing that a notice be placed thereon prohibiting its use or occupancy. At this time, I'd like to recognize City Manager, Mr. Cottle. Mr. Cottle.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Bryan Renner, our Chief Code Enforcement Officer, will overview this item for us.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So I'll first start off by saying that I'm going to recommend that we deny this, but I want to show you why. So 709 South 7th Street, it's a little under 1,000 square feet. It's a single-family house. It's currently vacant. The owner's Mr. Hansley and Mrs. Hansley. This is the view as of February. But the owner is currently throwing new siding on the house. He's repaired the inside of the house previously. Here's the case timeline so you understand as to why we scheduled this to begin with. We started this back in October 2020. At that time, it was occupied by a tenant. We took it to Housing Code hearing in March 2022, and at that time, it was vacant. That order expired back in August of 2022. We've been in conversations with the owners since 2020, trying to get this project done. I think financially it was challenging, which is why it took so long. He did the roof in 2022. He's done some interior repairs. We've issued a lot of citations, but as of today, he's working on it. That's just the information from the findings of fact. It was a repair-only order. And here you can see some more photos from today at 1 p.m. So what we'd like to do is recommend that you vote this ordinance down. We're going to continue to work with the owner to make sure that he brings it fully into compliance with the minimum housing code. But at this time, we do not think that we need to have an ordinance passed on this one. So I'm here if there's any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Thank you. Meredith, since the inspector has indicated that we're going to deny this ordinance or this item, can we go ahead and take a vote? Do we need to go through the whole process with the public hearing and all that?
You can go ahead and take a vote to, well, I think you'd still need to open and close the public hearing since it's advertised as a public hearing.
Okay.
But with the audience knowing that.
Very good. Okay,
the
thank you.
denial
Mrs. Spears?
So do we need a motion to deny?
Well, I think we need to, we'll go to that as soon as we get finished with the public hearing, since Mr. Renner has indicated that he recommends that we deny this one, but since we have advertised this as in the public realm, we'll go through that process. And okay. So staff has done his presentation. Is the homeowner here? Okay, not seeing him. I'm going to open up the public hearing and ask if anybody wants to speak on this particular item, one way or the other. Madam Clerk, have you received any comments?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay, very good. I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for the wishes of council, which is a motion to deny. So we have a motion to deny by Councilmember Rivenbark, second by Councilmember Waddell. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item of business, which is item PH2, which is an ordinance directing the housing inspector to vacate, close, and repair or demolish the dwelling at 1203 South Sixth Street as unfit for human habitation pursuant to Article 5, Chapter 16 of the City Code, and directing that a notice be placed thereon prohibiting its use or occupancy. Again, I'd like to recognize the city manager, Mr. Cottle. Mr. Cottle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Renner will overview this item as well.
The next property we're going to talk about is 1203 South Sixth Street. This is actually the same property owner. We're going to recommend that we approve this ordinance. So for 1203 South Sixth Street, this is a single-family house built in 1920. It's vacant. It's been vacant for quite some time, since at least 2020 it's been vacant. The owner, Derek Hansley, and his wife, Mrs. Hansley. So this is the view from South Sixth Street. This case began back in March of 2021. Officer noticed the condition of the house and initiated the case. The property is vacant. We took it to hearing in April of 2023. The owner did not attend, but he did provide a statement at that hearing. We issued the order in May of 2023, and that order expired in September of 2023. Since that time, there's been no additional repairs. He did apply for a permit in 2023, but that permit was not issued. We have issued citations on this one, and we do have public nuisance violations on the property, and we have for some time. We actually have total for this property owner, we have 5,200 in public nuisance liens, almost 4,000 of that being on this property. And then we also have about $6,000 in delinquent taxes on this property. So that order, building value in 2023 was $62,400. Our estimated cost to repair at that time was $34,577, it's 55%, which is dilapidated by the city's minimum housing code, which would be a repair or demolish order. And we have the 2025 tax value on there for reference. These are the sections of the minimum housing code outlined within the order that's in the packet. So these are some photos of the outside. We do have a lot of sheathing that's been exposed for quite some time. And it's beginning to rot. There's the electrical meter box exposed. It's the view on the back. The foundation sills do appear to be starting to rot. We do have some rotting framing as well. Some of the piers seem to be leaning. This is inside the unit. There is an accumulation of some items and trash. The inside of the unit is completely gutted. All of this framing appears to have been done sometime between 2016 and 2021. For reference, I have not been able to find a permit pulled for any of this work. And this type of work, extensive work, would definitely require a permit. The sheathing on the roof was actually dated 2016. So we think that's probably about the time that all this was done. We have had, as you can see by the mattress here, some issues with people being in here over the years, but it's currently vacant and secured. Well, actually, when I was there, the front door was open, so I take that back. It's not secured. We would look to secure this building as soon as we can. So immediately following this, tomorrow we'd go and make sure we secure it. And here we can see more of the inside. We do have some broken windows as well. So that being said, with this property, we're looking for the authority to keep it vacant and to secure the building if we find it unsecured, and then also 90 days for the owner to repair or demolish this building. I'm here if there's any questions on this case.
Yes, sir. Mr. Unmar. Oh, Mr. Joyner, I'm sorry.
Bryan, you said that, when's the last time you were in touch with the owner?
We spoke with him regarding this one. It was probably a couple months ago. He's been in contact with a few of our staff members. He owns several properties throughout the city, this being one of the worst ones, which is why we're here. But mostly that's about trying to get him to cut the grass and clean up the yard. He has not communicated his plans for this, aside from he was in the process of getting financing to put the siding on the other house, and he plans to work on this one at some point. But in the last several years, we have not seen any progress towards that. So that's why we're here tonight.
So he had sufficient plans for you to say, let's not proceed yet on the adjacent property, but on this one, it's been insufficient?
Correct. For the other property, I do not believe it meets the criteria for us to move forward in terms of unfit for human habitation. He had completely repaired the inside to our minimum standards. He had put a new roof on it, and he was putting the siding on, which was the primary issue, is that a lot of that was exposed, and he's made some other repairs on that. The other house, he does still have some rotten window frames and some broken windows that we're working on him with, but we have not spoken with him. Since he received this notice, he did not contact us. So that's kind of where we're at tonight, in hopes to motivate him to do this, and if not, we'll take appropriate action.
Understood. Thank you.
Ms. Spears, okay, Mr. Meisenberg, I'm sorry.
Could you go back to the interior pictures there, Brian? Right there, that's, that looks like interior sheetrock. It doesn't go bad if it's kept dry. It certainly looks like the interior woodwork looks, I'm sure it's not, but it looks good. And generally when you're in front of us, the pictures, the ceiling's falling in, there's just an untold amount of trash. It doesn't look that bad. Is there something that's really glaring that what is it?
With housing code, vacant and occupied houses are held to the same standard, which is habitability. So when we look at this house, it's obviously not habitable in its current state.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah. And then there are some, this sheathing on the outside has been exposed for, almost a decade. So it is starting to deteriorate and rot. We're really looking at some rotten framing on the outside. With this on the inside, it's just not habitable in its current state. The cost to repair exceeds the tax value, 50% threshold, so that's why we're here with repair or demolish. Could the owner throw the sheetrock up and get the appropriate permits and complete this project? Absolutely. And that's what we're hoping he does following this.
Is there, on this one, I didn't ask it on the last one, is there any active infrastructure, not infrastructure, is there any active utilities hooked to either of these two houses?
He does have active, the other house on 7th Street does have active water service. He recently paid that off, and I believe he's trying to move a tenant in there based on the notes that I saw from the water company. But this one, based on what I was able to find, the water service records only go back to about 2020 that I can see, and there hasn't been water service at this property since at least 2020. The sheathing, as I said, was dated in 2020, or was 2016 dated, which tells me that he has been working on this for almost a decade and has not completed.
Is there any plumbing in this house? The pictures didn't show any.
So the only plumbing that I saw was this tub insert in the back, but no actual plumbing run that I saw while I was in there.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Ms. Spears?
Yeah, Brian, I'm a little confused, and I think I talk a lot about looking at things holistically when we make decisions from up here, and if we just giving these property owners grace on the previous agenda item, I don't know why we wouldn't do it for this one, especially if you just mentioned how tough it was financially for them to, near completion for that project. And I don't understand why we would try to put them in a crunch with the second property. And Councilman Rivenbark alluded to or stated that, this is one of the better properties that we've seen come to us. It's not in total disrepair. The framing looks good. There's progress taking place here. So, why not just ask that it be secured and not move forward with this decision to repair or demolish within 90 days?
I think that the recommendation from staff would be if you would like to provide additional time within this ordinance, I don't think anybody would be opposed to that. It's really council's prerogative to provide as much time as they believe to be reasonable. I do think that we definitely need the vacate order. I agree. I think that if it were 6 months, that might be something that council might want to do. I don't think a year would be really reasonable for him to complete this project, but I'll leave it to your discretion about what you may want to modify that ordinance to.
Well, yeah, no, I didn't say a year. I was just, but yeah, you kind of picked up on the 6 month vibe, which is I feel like sufficient. You said they own other properties, but I mean, just look at where we are, or potentially are in the economy currently, and things may just get a little tougher. So, you know, we want to be able to help people as much as we can, and, you know, we're seeing progress with one. We could see if there was no progress on one, and then that would make this a little more believable that nothing's going to happen. But, you know, there are things happening here, and there are definitely things happening with the other properties. So I think we should extend that grace. But I'm glad you were on board. I was really surprised with the first one that you came with that. So I was a little shocked with this one, but thank you.
Mr. Rumbar?
During this time frame, we can require that it stay secure to keep people from going in and becoming a nuisance to the neighborhood.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So Brian, your recommendation is to give them 6 months?
I believe that staff would be on board with 6 months. As I've said, we did find the building unsecured. We have not received a lot of calls about people accessing this property. We do currently have a public nuisance on the property for trash and overgrowth. So I think that 6 months would be reasonable.
Okay. Thank you. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, I will ask and recognize the homeowner if the homeowner's in the audience. Not seeing him, I'm going to open up the public hearing and ask for anybody in the public wishes to speak on item PH2. Madam Clerk, again, have you received any additional comments on item PH2? Okay. Are there any further questions from council? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for the wishes of council. We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Rivenbark, second by Councilmember Joyner. Mr. Rivenbark, did you want to amend this?
Would like to take the recommendation that we offered forward and they accepted is 6 months.
Okay. With a 6-month stay. Okay, that's.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. Everybody understand the motion? Okay. Take a vote. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Waddell. Discussion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. That brings us to our next item, which has 3 resolutions and 1 ordinance. And the resolution reads, 01A is a resolution officially accepting the public streets and stormwater drainage facilities within the Pond Crossing subdivision. I'm going to read all of them at one time, and we'll take them each separately. Item 01B is a resolution accepting drainage easements for the Wisteria Clearbrook Drainage Improvement Project. Item 01C is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the North Carolina Land and Water Fund grant contract in the amount up to $1,353,000 to support the Wisteria/Clearbrook Drainage Improvement Project. And then item 01D, which is the ordinance, is appropriating the $1,353,000 from the North Carolina Land and Water Fund grant award for the Wisteria/Clearbrook Drainage Improvement Project. At this time, I'd like to recognize our city manager, Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you so noted, this is a 4-part item. All of them are interrelated. I wrote them all on the agenda such that there would be the opportunity to explain the nuances about the acceptance of the public streets and storm drainage. Zach Roman, our project manager, will overview this item for us.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The 4 items before you tonight for consideration are regarding Stage 2 of the Wisteria Clearbrook Drainage Improvement Project. As Councilman noted, item 01A proposes the acceptance of the proposed streets and storm drainage facilities within the Pond Crossing subdivision. Item O.1B proposes the acceptance of existing drainage easements. Item O.1C authorizes execution of a grant contract, and item O.1D appropriates funds from the grant award. As you may be aware, Stage 2 of the Wisteria Clearbrook Drainage Improvement Project is a large drainage improvement project, generally beginning in the Camellia Heights residential area and ending at Dogwood Lane, south of Oleander Drive. This area, including 58th Street, Wisteria Lane, Ruxton Way, Weeping Willow Road, and Dogwood Lane, drains to an unnamed tributary of Hewlett's Creek. The project seeks to reduce the flooding of streets and private property. The existing drainage infrastructure in the project area has aged and requires upgrading. This project involves easement acquisitions to establish permanent easements along the project corridor for construction and for long-term maintenance by the city. Easement acquisitions are currently underway, and we plan to return to City Council in a few short months to finalize acquisitions. Regarding the grant award, City Council authorized the submittal of a grant application for the project on February 6, 2024. The city was notified on October 3rd, 2024, that the application was selected for funding. The $1,353,000 award will go towards supporting funding for the project's construction costs. City staff recommends the passage of all these items, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Any questions from council? Yes, sir, Mr. Waddell.
Do you have any idea how long Stage 2 will take to complete?
So our best guess right now is the contract time probably will be about 365 calendar days for a contractor. So obviously that's something that we will discuss with the project consultant, but given the scope and size of the project, it's a fair estimate right now that construction timeline would be about 365 days.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Tony, this ties in with the overall drainage plan for that entire area, going all the way back to when we replaced the bridge there at Greenville Loop Road, making the capacity for stormwater larger to be able to come out of there. And it's also tied in with the one, I guess, a couple of years ago, when we were talking about the neighbors came forward in respect to the ditches there that were fairly shallow, that needed to be cleaned out. And Dave had talked about this would be tied into that particular project. Remind me, this is that same project, correct?
Yes, sir, it is, and it's the second major project that we've undertaken. The one in the New Center Drive area was obviously the first one. This is the second, probably most important one that we had to get to, but it did encompass a number of those elements that you just mentioned.
Okay, good. I just reminded myself that I remember we talked about this maybe a year or 2 years ago. I remember it was going to be tied into a larger project, and this is it. Okay, good work.
I believe that area was like the Victory Gardens area, which is just, I think, a block east of 58th Street, which is where the
I would just hope that some of those neighbors in that particular area have been notified that this project is on its way.
Yes, everybody in the project area has been notified.
Very good.
We've been working to acquire the easements.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Excuse me, one other question, Tony, and this may be, I know that in some of our bids lately, we've been having some issues in multiple bids. I know that we have to receive 3 bids under state law before, and if we don't receive the 3 bids, we have to go back out. I know that that's due to a lot of the work that's going on in the western part of the state. Is that still an ongoing issue?
Yes, sir.
I think that we're not only seeing it, I think other communities are seeing it around the state of North Carolina also.
It's an ongoing issue, especially in this area, but also in construction as well. The western part of the state, as you know, was devastated by Helene, and a lot of the contractors have moved out into that area. But I would not be surprised if we did not get 3 bids on this one, especially given the size of the project. But we'll just have to see. If we do not get 3 bids, we simply re-advertise the project, and then we can award with less than 3 bids.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. Good work, thank you. All right, we'll take each one of these one at a time. So we're going to go to item 01A, resolution officially accepting the public streets and stormwater drainage facility within the Pond Crossing subdivision. We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Waddell, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. Now let's go to item 01B, which is a resolution accepting drainage easements for the Wisteria/Clearbrook Drainage Improvement Project. What are the wishes of council? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item 01C, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the North Carolina Land and Water Fund grant contract in the amount of up to $1,353,000 to support the Wisteria/Clearbrook Drainage Improvement Project. We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Joyner. Discussion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. And then item 01D, which is the ordinance appropriating the $1,353,000 from the North Carolina Land and Water Fund grant award for the Wisteria/Clearbrook Drainage Improvement Project. We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Joyner, second by Councilmember Andrews. Further discussion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Item passes unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Spears. Discussion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. That brings us to our next item of business, which is our resolutions. Item R1 is a resolution to amend the Articles of Incorporation of the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority to remove term limits. At this time, I'd like to recognize the City Manager, Mr. Tony Cottle. Mr. Cottle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, this request came from the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority. Tonight we have with us Ken Waldrop, the Executive Director of the CFPUA. I'm sure he'd like to address this item if you would entertain that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for allowing
King,
us
can
the
you
time.
bring that microphone down? There we go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for allowing us a few moments of your time. On behalf of the Board of the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority, we bring forward a request to amend our Articles of Incorporation to remove language associated with term limits. This was at the request of staff, myself in particular. We are in a period of transition, most associated with a record CIP and record CIP project. As staff, we think it is wise for our sponsoring agency, the city and the county, to have the flexibility, if they so choose, to reappoint individuals of experience during this time of transition and difficulty.
Okay, very good. Mr. Waddell?
And this is not just elected members. This is the members that are appointed by the city and the county as well, right? I mean, that was your request to both of us.
That's correct. To remove all term limits. Again, this does not mean that those that are on would be automatically reappointed. What this does is it gives the city council the flexibility to choose for stability if they so choose.
Okay, very good. Any other questions?
I have another follow-up. Has the county already taken this up?
The county is scheduled to take it up next week.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ken. Okay, what are the wishes of council in respect to the resolution? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Waddell, second by Councilmember Rivenbark. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed?
No.
Item passes 5-1. That brings us to our next item of business, which is item R2, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Collective Impact in New Hanover County Incorporated for gap financing for affordable housing rehabilitation utilizing $824,652 of general fund committed for the Affordable Housing Fund balance. This time I'd like to recognize the city manager, Mr. Cottle. Mr. Cottle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gilbert Combs, our Community Development and Housing Manager, will overview this item for us.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Cape Fear Collective is requesting $824,652 for the rehabilitation of 7 existing structures, all located in the 1945 corporate limits. These 7 properties are part of the collective's plan to rehabilitate over 80 structures in their existing portfolio to preserve affordability of for-rent and for-sale units in the city. Additional properties in the collective's portfolio are already being rehabilitated with support from the New Hanover Community Endowment with the amount of about $837,000. These 4 properties will be for rent and must remain affordable for a minimum of 15 years. These properties will be monitored throughout the period of time to ensure eligible renters are occupying the units, and annual reporting would be required. These 3 properties will be for sale. The asterisk notes the two properties that will be sold in a land trust model. This means that the land will remain in trust with the Cape Fear Community Land Trust, and the home must be sold to an income-eligible buyer. This ensures that the property will remain affordable. The Queen Street property must be sold to an income-eligible buyer. Staff recommends approval of the resolution and is available for any questions, and representatives of Cape Fear Collective are present and are available as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from staff? Yes, sir, Mr. Waddell.
First, I just appreciate the work the Cape Fear Collective does. It's certainly important and needed, and they work very hard to put housing stock to folks who need affordable housing. I'm just curious, because I think this is the first time that we have allocated a portion of the fund balance since we initiated and created the fund balance for the housing fund. I'm just curious, Rachel, I see you getting up. Where's that put us? I mean, are we wiping it out?
No, this is one of the projects we've been presenting to you for the past few months that's been in the pipeline. So this is part of what we've been talking about.
Where's our fund balance land after this?
We would have approximately $4 million.
In the fund balance?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, all right, excellent, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, sir. What are the wishes of council in respect to the item? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Joyner, second by Councilmember Spears. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. That brings us to item R3, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to request additional federal direct attributable funding from the Wilmington Urban Area Metropolitan Planning Organization in the amount of $431,200 with the required $107,800 local grant match from the city for the Downtown Trail Phase 1 design project. Again, I'd like to recognize City Manager Mr. Cottle. Mr. Cottle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Tom Moten, our Deputy City Manager, will review this item for us.
Evening, Mayor and members of council. Thank you for this time. The Downtown Trail, as you recall, was identified in the New Hanover County, City of Wilmington Comprehensive Greenway Plan in 2013. And as you recall, it was a 5.9-mile stretch that would begin from downtown, extend through parks and neighborhoods east of downtown all the way to Forest Hills. Phase 1 of the Downtown Trail is approximately 1.7 miles, beginning at 3rd Street, moving through the NCDOT rail corridor all the way to Love Grove Bridge, connecting to the multi-use trail there. During the course of the project, which began in 2022, staff worked with NCDOT, property owner, as well as CXX to resolve certain issues. Some of those issues consumed about additional 2 years in planning. As a consequence of the requirements in order to move forward with the project, and additional costs have been added to the design budget. What staff proposes is to seek permission to apply to the WMPO for a grant. The amount of funding that will be received from the WMPO would be $431,200 with a local match from the city recommended by the city's Bicycle and Bike PED Committee of $107,800 for a total amount of $539,000. We'll be happy to answer the questions you may have about this project at this time.
So, Tom, it's my understanding that for the 2-year delay when we were working with CSX, and I know that with the Federal Rail Commission about bringing rail back to Wilmington, that corridor was always protected for a rail corridor in anticipation that rail would one day come back.
Yes, it is. In
downtown.
fact, the NCDOT had significant standards, and one of which required the movement of a retaining wall. And so there are certain conditions within the gulch that we have to meet in order for the trail to coexist with any future plans for passenger rail that may come to Wilmington.
Do we know which side of that gulch the trail will be? Is it going to be on the north side?
We do know. I can't recall it, but there is someone here that may recall the specifics of it, which is Abby Lorenzo.
I see Abby back there. Abby, could you please come forward just so I know? Because I guess once this trail is in place, I know the DOT and the rail division and CSX had some concerns that once the rail came back, we don't want to tear the trail up, and the citizens would be using this for a number of years, and then all of a sudden the trail goes away. And I know that we wanted to make this a permanent fixture for our community.
Exactly. So the conceptual layout, accommodating both future passenger rail tracks, platforms, and a trail. The trail would be on the south side of the corridor.
Okay, on the south side. Interesting. So it's in the lower part. Okay, very good. Okay. So Tom, this would also, since you made this presentation, I'm sorry, this also would include item R4?
Yes, it will.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. What are the wishes of council in respect to item R3? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Ravenbach, second by Councilmember Spears. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item, which is the item R4, which is what Tom had talked to us about, which is the resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for the future Downtown Trail Phase 1. We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Waddell, second by Councilmember Andrews. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item, which is item R5, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to approve scope modifications to the Hawk Signal at 21st Street and Market Street project to eliminate the proposed one-way conversion of 21st Street. This time I'd like to recognize our city manager, Mr. Carter. Well, this is one we've been talking about for quite some time, Tony.
Yes, sir, it is. It's been long in coming. Dennisville Kenowitz, our city traffic engineer, will explain the change in position on this item.
Okay, Dennis, come on.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is a resolution to authorize the city manager to modify the scope of that Hawk Signal project at 21st Street, specifically to, and only to eliminate the proposed one-way conversion of 21st Street. When this project was conceptualized back in 2019, the original resolution indicated that it was agreed that we were going to convert 21st Street to one-way southbound because this type of traffic control device is not allowed to be installed, or was not allowed to be installed at an intersection. That was for the safety of the pedestrians crossing the street. Since then, our design standards have changed. So in 2023, the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices released their 11th edition update. And in that edition, it specifically allows for this device to be installed at an intersection. So it's almost it's a wash at this point. So now we don't have to do any more work. City staff was going to install all of the signs and all the pavement markings. So this change in design standards has allowed us to save staff time and money and allow the traffic pattern to remain the same in the neighborhood.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to point out to you that despite the fact this project has taken a while, it obviously resulted in a better project as a result of the change in the standards.
Well, lucky us.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Okay, Mr. Ravenbach.
We were using a 2009 manual. That was before you came here, obviously.
It was when I came here, yeah.
When you came here. And then when these new manuals come out, do we not take a look at that and update plans, especially one like this that's been out there lingering all these years?
Sure. I will say that this manual is about 900 pages long, so there is some.
How long is the one from 2009?
It's probably a little bit longer than that. They
Okay.
actually shortened it.
So it doesn't matter what they are, it's what it is.
Correct. I would just say that, design standards change a lot. I wouldn't expect that every project we design that we look at, okay, what has changed since we first started this and what do we need to manipulate? This thing was designed, we were going to go in with it. It was safe, and it would still be safe if we did the one-way conversion. It's just now that we have the opportunity to not make that conversion. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Is that what we always wanted, or are you just having to go by what the manual said?
I think if we were allowed to do that originally, I wouldn't be here tonight. So I'll just leave, the original design standard said that we could not install this traffic control device at the intersection.
So somebody down up the chain of command had a change of heart, change of mind, different opinion? Is that how these things come about? I don't know. This is this is
Sure,
where
sure.
you.
These design I mean, they're reviewed at the federal and world level. I mean, it's thousands of data points on how and when to do something with these devices. And it was just determined that maybe it was overkill to not allow them at the intersection. So through the design, through the discussions, you know, engineers decided that, you know what, it's not such a bad thing.
Thank you.
Mr. Waddell?
Yeah, I'm excited to see this kind of come into fruition. I know everybody is. I used to live over very close by, and I utilized the crosswalk many times with a crazy golden retriever in one hand and pushing my 2-year-old in a stroller in the other, and my pregnant wife there beside me. So and you better have your head on a swivel when you're going across that crosswalk. So I'm very happy to see this come forward. When do we anticipate lights on? We should have ribbon cutting over there. Probably don't want to cut Market Street off, but we should have ribbon cutting over there.
Tomorrow morning,
the
signal contractor is going to be in town.
Let's go. All right.
So we're in discussions with DOT on whether or not they want to flash the signal for a certain time period, just to warn drivers to get them used to, hey, there's something new here. But tomorrow morning, it will be electrified.
Love it. Thank you.
Dennis, real quick, to Charlie's point, and I couldn't understand, I know this is the same hawk light that's at Riceville Beach before you get onto that bridge, going over to the breach there in front of Wing, but there's an intersection there, there's a road that comes to that, so I never understood why, or I guess that is one way.
One way?
Sorry about that. You were right. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. What are the wishes of council in respect to the item? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Waddell. Discussion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. And now, item R6, which is the resolution of the Wilmington City Council supporting the public preservation of the Flossie Bryan property located at 3990 Independence Boulevard. And at this time, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Celeste Andrews. Ms. Andrews?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recognize Isabel Shepard, the Executive Director for the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees. And I see one of her board members, Laura McCabe. Is Margie Herring also here? Oh, there she is. Would you also come up too? And is Carla Murray here? From the, thank you, Carla, from the Cape Fear Sierra Club. They also meet the same night that we do, although they like to point out that they have free pizza and we don't. So I'm glad that Carla could forego pizza tonight and be here for the Sierra Club. Ms. Herring.
Hello, and thank you so much for the opportunity. The Alliance for Cape Fear Trees acknowledges the ongoing discussions regarding the future of the 60-acre tract at 3990 Independence Boulevard in Wilmington, the former Flossie Bryan farm. We advocate for a balanced approach that harmonizes development with environmental stewardship, aligning with our nonprofit's mission to preserve, protect, and plant trees to enhance the quality of life for present and future generations in the lower Cape Fear area. And we have quite a crowd here with us tonight, all wearing red, standing with us in our support of tonight's resolution. We commend the insights of UNCW geologist Roger Shue, who is here tonight. He has highlighted the site's potential for conservation and educational purposes. The property, characterized by a young loblolly pine forest approximately 20 to 25 years old, offers unique opportunities for environmental education and demonstration of sustainable forestry practices. Implementing a managed thinning process could serve as a practical example of silviculture, the practice and science of controlling forest growth, composition, and health, benefiting both the ecosystem and the community's understanding of forest management. Additionally, the southern perimeter of the site contains the headwaters of Barnard's Creek and includes portions of both the 100-year and 500-year floodplain. This ecologically sensitive area plays a vital role in stormwater absorption, flood mitigation, and water quality improvement for the entire Barnard's Creek watershed. However, the proposed rezoning would significantly alter the landscape, replacing much of the existing forest with development. The planned stormwater retention ponds would discharge directly into first-order tributaries of Barnard's Creek, potentially increasing runoff, erosion, and pollution in an already impacted waterway. ACFT envisions the 3990 Independence Boulevard site as a public space that integrates scientific research, environmental education, and low-impact recreation, potentially including educational programs that utilize the existing forest to teach sustainable forestry and conservation techniques, recreational opportunities to develop nature trails and observatory areas to encourage community engagement with local ecology, and research initiatives, establishing areas for scientific studies on native species, forest dynamics, and environmental monitoring. While we are not opposed to development, we advocate for thoughtful planning that preserves significant natural features and incorporates green spaces. This approach not only safeguards environmental health, but enhances community well-being by providing accessible natural areas within urban settings. The Alliance for Cape Fear Trees supports a collaborative effort to determine the future of the former Flossie-Bryan tract, ensuring that any development aligns with principles of sustainability and community enrichment. By embracing a multifaceted approach that includes conservation, education, and recreation, we can create a legacy that benefits both the environment and the residents of Wilmington. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to read the resolution into the record. Whereas the Flossie-Bryan Estate is an ecologically and culturally significant site within the city of Wilmington, and whereas Flossie-Bryan was a lifelong advocate for public health, having worked as a licensed practical nurse, LPN, for over 30 years, working in private duty and at James Walker Memorial Hospital, where our city manager was born, and serving as a longtime member of the LPN Association. Whereas Ms. Bryan loved plants and the natural environment, working in her yard and sharing flowers with her neighbors, and her property serves as a symbol of the values she upheld throughout her life. And whereas Ms. Bryan executed a will in 2000 that bequeathed the land to the county to develop a park or community garden, and whereas the property is the headwaters of Barnard Creek, which is important for water quality in the Cape Fear River and control of stormwater runoff and flooding along Independence Boulevard, and whereas the preservation of the Bryan Estate as a public park would provide a space for reflection, education, and public engagement while also protecting green space in the city, and whereas Wilmington residents, community organizations, and local ecologists have expressed strong support for maintaining the property as a public park to honor the memory and contributions of Flossie Bryan, and whereas the city of Wilmington recognizes the importance of preserving culturally and ecologically significant properties for the enrichment of future generations, and whereas establishing this site as a park aligns with the city's commitment to sustainability, conservation, and equitable access to public spaces, therefore be it resolved that the Wilmington City Council fully supports the preservation of the Flossie Bryan property as a public park and urges all relevant stakeholders, including New Hanover County, local preservation groups, and community leaders to work collaboratively to secure the necessary resources and protections for this important site, and that the Wilmington City Council encourages the pursuit of grants, public-private partnerships, and other funding opportunities to facilitate the acquisition, restoration, and maintenance of this property for the benefit of all residents and visitors, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the appropriate local, state, and federal agencies in support of efforts to preserve the Flossie Bryan property as a lasting tribute to her legacy and a vital community resource. And with that, I'd like to move the resolution.
And we have a motion to approve by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Joyner. Discussion, Mr. Waddell.
Yeah, first, I support this resolution. I will vote for it, certainly, and I would have loved to have the opportunity to put my name on it as well. I'm sure many of the other members up here would like. I've met with a lot of these fine folks, and your advocacy is important, and you do a wonderful job. I recently published an op-ed in the Wilmington Business Journal entitled Seeing Green, and that reflects on the larger issue of preserving green space. If you're in this crowd and you send an email to council over the last couple of days, I can guarantee you got a link to go read it. But I will note that I do believe it's important for leaders to be intellectually honest with the people we represent when we bring resolutions like this and other resolutions forward. It's plain to me, and a lot of the information that I was getting back from the community, that people believe that there was some sort of rezoning scheduled for this property tonight or in the near future, and the fact of the matter is there's not. There's not. The developer pulled the application months ago after many of us up here went on the record with our likely non-support for a project. I certainly don't think that the resolution was, is misleading or deliberately, and I commend Councilmember Andrews for her fortitude to bring it forward. But to me, it just really emphasizes and solidifies the need to communicate and collaborate with one another on items of this importance as it relates to the public that we represent, to speak effectively and clearly as a voice. Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Commissioner Dane Scalise for even putting this into the zeitgeist here in our community. Quite simply, no one knew this was an option or would even be possible until he nicknamed it Airly 2.0. And so I want to thank him for his vision and leadership, and I look forward to seeing what the commissioners do with this. Again, I support this resolution, but I felt compelled to offer my thoughts on its presentation. Thank you.
Very good. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. That brings us to our last item of business, which is our reports. Item RP1 is a report of council's appointments, committee for boards and commissions. And at this time, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Rivenbark. Mr. Rivenbark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The appointments to boards and commissions and committees met on March the 3rd. Members attending were myself as the chairman, Councilman Luke Waddell, and Councilmember Celeste Andrews, Ms. Penny Spicer Sidbury, the clerk, and Ms. Meredith Everhart, a city attorney. The following we offer up for your consideration. The Downtown Parking Advisory Committee appoint Gary Coleman to fill a vacancy representing the Downtown Business Alliance with a term to expire 1/16/28. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board reappoint Alexa Fritz with a term to expire 4/19/28. And on the Zoning Board of Adjustment, we're going to remove Jess Johnson as an alternate one simply because he cannot attend the meetings on a regular basis, and this is all very mutually agreed to, and to appoint Deidre Carroll as alternate number 1. With that, I make the motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Councilman Rivenbark, second by Councilmember Andrews. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. This concludes our regular agenda. Are there any items to be brought forward by our city attorney?
Yes, sir, we have a brief closed session when you're ready for that.
Okay. Mr. Manager, Madam Clerk, Mr. Joyner, Mr. Waddell, Mr. Rivenbark, Ms. Andrews.
Yeah, I would just like to thank Kara Spencer, who is our intergovernmental and legislative liaison, for orchestrating a wonderful trip to our legislators in Washington, D.C. For 6 of us, and we did get to speak to our legislators about issues of importance to Wilmington, and Kara also gave Councilmember Joyner and I a fabulous behind-the-scenes tour of the FBI. We didn't get to see any of the Tommy guns being shot or anything like that, but we did get to meet some victim assistance dogs, and that was really fun. So thank you so much, Kara, for everything you did.
Ms. Spears.
Yes, sir. I'd like to congratulate the UNCW men's basketball team going to the tournament. I also would like to say every day that we wake up since January the 20th, it's been a real-world experience in civics and what can take place and what cannot take place. And last year, there was a theme, and there's been a theme for a while since 2016, I imagine, of making America great again. But I don't see any of these executive orders making America that great. What I see is divisive initiatives aimed to actually separate Americans and to degenerate the quality of the American fabric. That sounds pretty good. I like that. And I just hope that we pay attention and become really adamant about standing up for what's right and what's wrong in this country, and also what's illegal. There's a lot of illegal practices taking place, but thank God for the 3 branches of government where someone has, I don't even know what to say that someone has done. It's just outlandish. So please pay attention. Please be really vocal about what you want to see in this country, because it will impact not only you, but generations to come. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Do we have is there a motion to enter into a closed session pursuant to the provisions of General Statute 143-318.11A and 6 in order for the City Council to, 1, discuss a personnel matter? We have a motion approved by Councilmember Joyner, second by Councilmembers Andrews. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. The closed session will be held in council chambers here. Everyone is going to be asked to leave the chamber at this time. At the end of the closed session, council will reopen the public session from here. Okay? With that, we'll be going to closed session.